Okay. All right. I'd like to call this evening's meeting to order. Good evening, everyone. So with that, I need a motion to accept this evening's agenda.
So moved.
Jason.
Second.
Stacy. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That's carried. Corey will handle the hearing of the public as we always do, right?
Yes.
Give them some time to put their questions online.
Yep.
Okay, I need a motion to accept the minutes from the prior meeting.
So moved.
Danny,
Second.
Jason, any questions, comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That's carried. All right, moving on to the consent agenda, the personnel portion of the consent agenda. Do we actually? Yeah, we did have some. I need a motion to for the personnel section of the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Sounded like we had Danny and Stacy, or actually we had three there. But anyway, any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That's carried. Okay, moving on to the non-personnel portion of the consent agenda. We had quite a few things there. I need a motion.
So moved.
Stace?
Second.
Danny? Any questions regarding any of these? Okay, hearing none, all in favor? Aye.
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 Opposed?
Aye.
Okay, and we have like 5 presentations tonight, so we're going to let Leanne Tinney go on first so she can get on to some of her other things rather than wait for the end of the meeting. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to you, Corey, and then you can turn it over to Leanne.
Yep. So as Mr. Civic said, we have Leanne Tinney here with us tonight. And Leanne has proposed a change to the Crestwood Central New York Oil and Gas pilot. It's been an ongoing discussion that we've had at the board level for several years now, and the challenges of that pilot, the total value of that pilot, and what that really does to the school district within the tax cap formula. So Leanne has a proposal. She's talked to the town. Obviously I've shared this information as well with the board, so everybody has had a chance to see this. And I'll turn it over to you, Leanne. Do you want to give a quick overview?
Certainly. First, I'd like to say thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to address the board as always. This conversation actually started about a year ago when it actually Corey brought it to our attention, the expiration of the pilot associated with then Central New York Oil and Gas, now Crestwood Stagecoach, and the impact that would have on the Owego-Appalachian school budget related to the state aid calculation. So last year, we went to the IDA board, asked the board to extend the existing pilot while we tried to work out a resolution to the situation. As you are probably aware, there's been no resolution. And since that time, I've had conversations with both the town and the county, letting them know that we were probably going to look to extend them this pilot again. And in the course of that discussion, discovered that not only does this, these two specific properties totaling over 92 million in assessed value, not only does it impact the calculation for the school, but due to the tax cap calculation, it also would present, if these properties were to come back to Rule Section 1 as taxable properties, it would also have a negative impact to the town and county tax cap calculation as well. So I have, as Corey mentioned, I've been to both the town and the school asking for support to we looked at two different scenarios. One would be to extend that existing pilot again. And the other would be to terminate the initial pilot and create a new pilot. The recommendation would be to go with the second scenario and allow the initial pilots to terminate and then create a new pilot with just 2 properties on it. That would be the compression station, which is, I think, valued at about 87 million, and one of the other properties, which is valued at over 17 million. So at this point, what we're looking to do, if the taxing entities are all in agreement, the IDA would go back to the company and ask them to make a new pilot application. They are under no obligation to do so, but we're hopeful that they will understand, the circumstances and will agree to make another application. What's important to note is that the compression station, which is at 87 million right now, they're paying 100% of their taxes. They've been paying 100% of their taxes on that assessed value for the past 10 years. With the new pilot, they would continue to pay 100% of their taxes. It would just be paid by way of Rule Section 8 and not in Rule Section 1. The other property in question, the one that's assessed at a little over 17 million, they are actually in a pilot. They're in their 9th year of their pilot. In 2021, they would be paying 90% of their school tax. And then in 2022, they would be at 100%. So the plan would be to allow for, in the new pilot, allow for that, the $17 million property to still have the 90% in 2021. And then in the next 4 years, again, be at 100% over the next 4 years. So what I'm hopeful is that we will have support of all taxing entities to approach the company. So I'm here to answer any questions you might have and specifically ask for your support to look at another 5 years. And hopefully within that 5 years, because this is not a scenario that only Tioga County is faced with. IDAs across the state are faced with the same scenario when you have larger projects coming back onto the tax rolls. Just the calculations that are required don't work. And so it places all taxing entities, as we've discovered, in a negative situation. So we're looking for 5 years. Hopefully within that 5 years, the calculation process will be resolved and we'll be able to just bring these properties back under Rule Section 1 without any issues.
Leanne, you said that it was the value of the property currently is 97 million and it's going to change to 85.
That's because initially we had included, there were actually 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 properties included in that initial pilot. We'd be putting actually 10 properties. We'd be putting 9 of those properties back on the tax roll and just we'd be putting 8 back on and keeping 2 out. So we would be adding, there are several that were included in the original pilot that they're of smaller assessed values, 150,000. They don't have structures, it's pipeline property. So they would be coming back onto the tax roll, no issues. They'd come back on and be calculated into the total assessed value for the school district.
Okay, you answered my question. That 150,000 shouldn't be an impact.
Right. Yep.
My question is how is this an incentive for them to do that?
There is no incentive for them to do that. We're counting on them understanding what the impact is, hoping that we can, make the argument with them to please, this will help our community if you would agree to stay within a pilot. We wouldn't charge them the typical fees to do the pilot. Really, it's a matter of paperwork. They don't have to do this. That's why we wanted to have concurrence by the taxing entities to take with us so that they can say, look, everybody's on board with this. Can you help us out?
Right.
Is there a backup plan if they decide they don't want to?
I prefer to have positive thoughts.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm on board with that too. I just wonder.
Question, without being glib about it, no, we're pretty much counting on them agreeing to continue, because if they don't, then the properties go back on roll section 1.
When would that happen if it was worst case, Leanne?
March of 2021.
Okay. Yeah, I'm with you. Hope for the best,
We've had a very good working relationship with them. I don't anticipate that there will be a problem, particularly if we don't charge them anything to do it. Really, it's a matter of, filling out a form and signing it, and, it's not going to cost them anything. They're going to be paying the same amount, whether they're classified under rule section 8 or rule section 1.
Do they have to fill out the form, Leanne, or is that something that you guys can help them with?
We'll probably fill out the majority of it. There'll be some that is changed because they've changed, ownership. So we'll need some information from them, but the bulk of it we'll be able to pretty much handle for them.
And it doesn't sound like there's any negative impact to them to go along with this. Do you agree?
I would agree.
Yeah.
They don't care. They're paying what they're paying.
Right. Does anyone on the board have any negative concerns about this?
Not at all. And I really appreciate all that you're doing, Leanne.
Yeah, we do, Leanne. We really appreciate it. I guess, it's pretty straightforward, and certainly, you have our support to go forward.
Great. Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Well, we appreciate you coming forward and helping us with this too.
We good? Corey, you gonna get me something?
Anybody have any other questions for Leanne?
I think we're all set. And just in terms of, do we need a resolution just to accept option 2?
I need a motion, yes.
Motion? Yes.
Okay. Can I have a motion then? to accept
So
that?
moved.
Jason, Stacy,
Second, yeah.
any other questions for Leanne? All in favor?
Aye.
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 There you go, Leanne. We're all set.
Thank you. Happy holidays, everybody. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Leanne.
Thank
Yeah.
you, Leanne.
You still got the driver's seat, Corey.
All right. Okay. So we've got a lot tonight on the agenda, but we first wanted to start out because we had some students joining us tonight in attendance from our music department. So we have Mrs. Lindsay Williams and Miss Megan Burrell, who are the band and choral directors, and they're going to share some exciting news tonight that how some of our students were nationally recognized. So I'm going to turn it over to Mrs. Williams and Mrs. Burrell. I think we can hear them.
Thank you for having us here this evening. We have 5 student musicians we wanted to recognize tonight. They were all accepted into either the New York State School Music Association All-State Ensemble or the All-National Ensemble, the National Association for Music Education All-National Ensembles. So we have tonight Allison Welch, who is a soprano 1, and she is singing with the mixed choir. We have Kennedy Dyer Decatur, who is an alto 1, and she is singing in the mixed choir. We have in the back middle, Mr. Jaden Rippick. He is playing French horn with the wind ensemble. And fun facts that this is actually Jaden Rippick's 2nd year as an all-state level musician. We have Jason Caldwell in the back right corner, and he is an alternate on percussion. And then in the back left corner, we have Jacob Dove, who is playing trombone in the all-national NAFME, National Association for Music Education, all-national band. And all of these students have worked incredibly hard to achieve this level of performance. And even though it is COVID times, they are still going to have an opportunity to be part of a virtual ensemble, part of a performing opportunity. Normally, they would have been in Rochester this past weekend, and they would have rehearsed for many hours, or Jacob would have traveled to Florida, I think. But because of the times we are in, that is not possible. But they have the opportunity to put together these virtual ensembles at an incredibly high level with incredibly talented musicians. So they record their parts, they practice outside of school, record their parts with a recording track, and then somebody wonderful and fabulous puts it all together and makes it feel like they are together making music. And we had a little teaser this weekend at the NISMA Cyber Summit of the jazz band, and it is really going to be excellent and lovely. So we're really excited for this opportunity for these students.
Great. Do you have any of your students that want to share their excitement or experience in general?
They're voting Jacob as tribute.
I see.
Sharing your excitement or experience.
My brother. Oh, come on. Both of my siblings have done things like this, and every time, either all state or NAFME, all nationals, it's a really nice organization. It's always a really good time, and it definitely benefits the fruits of all of our labors, and it's really exciting. Even though it's virtual, it'll still be really fun.
It's great. It's great. Anyone else want to share?
I'm also second generation. My brother also did all state chorus for 2 years in the mixed ensemble. So now it's my turn. Sad that it's in COVID times because I got to watch him at Rochester for 2 years in a row. And it was really exciting to be able to go and support him for 2 years. And unfortunately he lives in Florida now and can't really come, but it's really exciting to still be a part of it.
But he'll get to see your performance.
Yeah,
so that's
yeah,
cool.
yeah.
So fun things. Yes.
Yeah, it's exciting to see your accomplishments. Certainly, we're thrilled for you, and especially during these COVID times, how you've been able to persevere through this as well. So congratulations to all of you. You represent our district in a tremendous manner, and we thank you for that. So before we jump off, Mrs. Burrell and Mrs. Williams, do you want to just update the board on your presentation last week? As you know, we have a top-notch music department, and they were asked to come present at BOCES.
Yeah, we presented at the Staff and Curriculum Development Network virtual conference last Wednesday. We were asked to present by Aaron Wilday from BT BOCES to represent our BOCES at the statewide conference. There were representatives from BOCES from across the state and and administrative leaders from across the state there. So we were really excited. Megan, Amanda Shoemaker, Catherine Gould, and I presented on behalf of our whole music department, and we showcased work from Mr. Ryan Service and Becky Murgis and Alex Staples as well. And it was really well received. We focused on our virtual ensembles, teaching social and emotional learning and needs during this COVID time, and also effective social distancing practices for in-person music making. And we had a really great time, and we were so honored to represent our district, and we were honored that we were asked by BT BOCES. So that's all.
Yeah, the feedback that we received was exceptional. They did a tremendous job, and once again, thank you guys too for representing the district in such a positive manner. Thanks for taking your time to come on tonight. I know it's not the most ideal way to share things that are going on, but once again, we're still a lot of teaching and learning happening, even though we're in these different times right now. So great job, and thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great job.
All right, so I'm going to jump to, as most of you are aware, we had a lot of excitement over the past week in receiving a nationally recognized award for the school district. And that award was, we were recognized as a model professional learning community at work. And I don't know if you all had a chance to see the press release or some of the details that go with that. But really, there's three components that they looked at, and there was a tremendous amount of information and data that we had to share with Solution Tree in regards to the last 3 years and student achievement related items. So they're looking at, obviously, a focus on learning, building a collaborative culture, and creating a results oriented school district. And we seem to hit on all three of those areas. And what you really take from this, I think, at the end of the day, is one, it's a tremendous recognition. We're one of 22 school districts in the country. We're one of 4 in the Northeast and one of 2 in New York State. We believe deeply in the process and the systems that we have in place. And I'm extremely proud of our staff. This has been a lot of work over the last 4 years. They've dug in the trenches and really have done the work, and we're beginning to see all of those the fruits of that labor for our students and student achievement. So we're pleased with that recognition. I couldn't be more happy for our administrators, our teaching staff. As I said the other day to our group, that this goes beyond just the teaching in the classroom. It comes down to, feeding students when students get on the bus every day. So everybody has a part in the process of growth and student achievement. So it's a real team effort, and we're very, very pleased to receive that award. So. So I'm missing my list. Okay, here we go. So we'll move on from there. Anybody have any questions up to this point before we get into presentations?
No.
Okay. So as you know, we still have a lot going on here in the school district, even though we're managing a lot of the day-to-day COVID things that seem to be at the forefront of all the news media and everything else that you hear and see. So we thought it would be a good time, knowing that we aren't getting together for another month, just to kind of give you an update of where we're currently at with some of the other things in the school district that we've been focusing on. And Mr. Farrell is going to jump up first and just give you an update on construction and where we're at currently with construction and where we're headed here in the near future. So I'll turn it over to him.
Okay, Marcy, do you have the presentation?
Yes, it's up.
It's on the screen now. I'm not seeing it.
It's on the screen.
Everybody see it?
Mm-mm. No.
I just drug it over. Let me start over. Now?
No.
No.
Okay. How about now?
Hey,
See it?
There you go.
Okay.
just can you put it in present mode so it goes larger? Top right, I think it is. There you go.
There you go.
Yep. I think we're good. So, and you can go right down to the next slide, Marcy. As you know, we have a capital project that's currently underway, and 2 years ago, we did go to the voters for a referendum of about $24.5 million in a capital project that was going to focus mainly on OFA and Appalachian Elementary School. That project is currently underway, and it's broken out into really 3 parts, which we call phases. Phase 1, which I'll talk about in a minute, phase 2A and phase 2B. And we broke that out for specific reasons, mainly to do with completing certain parts of the project early and submitting early to try to get substantial completion and then possibly drive some aid early in the project, which is helpful for us for building aid purposes. And then the other 2 phases have to do with chunking out over a time period of 2 to 3 years to actually complete the project. So you can see the breakdown right here in the slides. So phase 1 has to do with the secure vestibule and entrance at Owego Free Academy in the middle school. Smaller part of the project, it's about $1.2 million in the total project to complete it. And what is happening there is the completion of the secure vestibule as you walk into the middle school entrance, and then the security office there, so that traffic is routed the right way. So anybody who's visiting the building comes into the office, and there is certain procedures in place that keep people at barriers and at certain checkpoints before they get into the building. At this point, we are expecting substantial completion at the end of this week, and then full completion by the middle of January, where we'll actually be moving people back in there and then starting to actually use the entrance. We were in there today. It's looking very, very good. There's actual this Kevlar sheetrock that's on the wall that's bulletproof, and there's bulletproof glass as you look into the trap when you come into the actual facility. Kenny, your handprint did get sanded out, so don't worry about that. He actually went in and touched the drywall a little too early the other day, so don't be too alarmed by that. But in general, it's going well. That's going to be completed and in the middle of January. The second phase, which is phase 2A, is also happening right now. And part of that's happening in Appalachian Elementary School, and part of it happening at Owego Free Academy. And you can see the list of things that are happening there. The STEAM area, art room area to AES is underway. Again, this is looking at a mid-January completion. Things are looking very good over there as well. When you get a chance and things start to calm down with the pandemic and you can actually get into buildings and look at some things, you're going to see a noticeable change at Appalachian. The hallway is much larger now. All of the hallway floors have been redone. It's really coming along quite well. The second part at OFA was done this summer, which is the ELA and social studies classrooms. They were renovated. That is the east side of Owego Free Academy. New floors, new walls, new ceilings, just cleaning it up in general. And then, of course, the OFA lobby floor has been done in a full terrazzo floor, which we're going to continue in the next phase, in phase 2B, through the hallways into the cafeteria, which I'll talk about in a minute. And then there's phase 2B, which is going to be the rest of it, which is the AES classroom renovations, and then much of the classroom renovations at the high school. You can go down to the next slide, Marcy. So like I said about phase 1 is that secure vestibule. It's about $1.25 million. The other part of that was the parking lot paving that you saw outside of the middle school, the bus loop, all the way around OFA. That was all completed this summer. And we'll be submitting that to SED at the end of this week, or at the beginning of next week. Architects are coming up tomorrow to do the punch list and make sure everything is all set. You can go to the next slide. Phase 2A, like I said, is going on right now. You can see that the estimates and things are still kind of playing out here in terms of cost, because you've got contractors who are currently doing work. But you can see that at OFA, about $1.2 million of work has been done so far. And about 4.1 has been done at AES. And those are construction costs. One of the things I want to remind you is that there are different costs in a capital project. You have soft costs that are your architect and engineering costs, your construction management costs, legal costs, things like that, that are also on top of just construction costs. But what you're looking at in terms of numbers here are mainly construction costs. So this is currently under progress right now, looking at a mid-January finish. The next thing coming up, you can go down, is phase 2B. And this is the largest part of the project. This is the real meat of it. We're going to be going out to bid here. And the goal is to go out to bid on December 11th, which is this Friday. So our architecture and engineering firm is finishing up the drawings to make sure everything is set for that. So what will happen in this next phase is all of the classrooms at AES will be renovated. So new flooring, new paint, new ceilings, new fixtures, cabinetry, set shelving. It'll look like a brand new school. The other part of this phase is the big chunk of it is the OFA science labs. So science labs are very expensive to upgrade, but it's very meaningful to upgrade them at this time. They're very old. If you've had a chance to go into those classrooms, you can see that they're from the original building. They need some significant work, and with the fixtures and the plumbing and the lines and the electrical work that is required in a science lab, it's an expensive part of the project. So that whole part of OFA will be completely redone. Below the science lab will be the new art room that will be constructed as well. The cafeteria is going to be redone. We're actually going to be taking down that glass wall between the lobby and the classroom. So it'll be one big flowing area, all terrazzo. It's really you're going to see a big change in the way OFA looks on that first floor. And then all the West classrooms that are upstairs, which are typically your math classrooms in that other corner, those will be redone as well. The hallway floors will all be redone. The lobby walls and ceilings will all be redone. So OFA is going to get a massive facelift. Like I said, bid proposals are looking to go out December 11th. You can look at construction estimates right here. So about $8.5 million in construction costs for OFA, about 4.5 of AES. That's on top of the 4.1 they are currently under project. And again, this doesn't include soft costs. You go to the next slide. So timeline, like I said, phase 1 looking to have complete about mid-January. Phase 2A should be complete mid-January. And then we're looking to start phase 2B in the summer of 2021. Keep in mind that bid proposals will drive what ends up being done in the project and what does not get done. There are certain alternate parts of the project. So in base bid, it's really about the science labs, the cafeteria, OFA, and in the hallway areas. If there's money, if the bids come in a little lower than what we think, then you'll start to look at other areas of OFA that we can do. And then AES should be mainly classrooms, and we should be able to fit that into the construction cost that we have available. So that's an update on the project. Is there any questions I can answer?
Bob, as far, I remember, the bids were coming in higher than expected. And so we had to cut some of the things out, but I'm trying to remember with AES, several of the things that we talked about doing, we were going to redo the parking lot so that the buses had a safer route and eliminate any cars going through there. And the loading dock, I think, was going to be redone.
Mm-hmm.
We were going to put an electric sign out front instead of the old manual one that never gets updated.
Yeah.
And the what do you call that thing out front? The porch for the canopy. That was something else that I think it was rusting out like it did at the old AES. And are those still going to be done, or are they?
Some of that I believe will fit in. I believe the sign will get done. That's not a big ticket item. It's not overly expensive. The canopy has a chance, but because it's tied to the building and construction costs, it is a little easier to fit in based on construction costs. One of the problems with the parking lot is that site work is considered incidental work in a project. Right. And you have limits on the amount of incidental work you can do in the project and that you'll actually get aided for. So we're going to do as much as we can do at Appalachian. And this is the same with OFA too, in terms of site work, which is one of the reasons why we didn't change the bus loop situation at OFA, is because it was working. And really what we needed to do was just mill and pave and get the surface taken care of. To actually do all that reshaping and doing all of that brand new blacktop, taking away fields and such would have been way too much money, and we would have been over in site costs. So we really wouldn't have gotten any aid back on those incidental costs. So we got to be careful and try to stay in budget. With Appalachian, I think in the end, we're going to be able to do a decent mill and pave of the parking lot, but might have to do some work on a procedural level of how we route traffic, just an operation standpoint. One of the things we're going to stop doing, and the pandemic has already done this for us, is pickup time has changed immensely at Appalachian. So you no longer have people parking and coming into the building and sitting in the lobby waiting for their kids. We're never going back to that. We're going to change the procedures of how that works in a lot of ways. And Tom can speak more of this when the time comes to speak about it when we're there. But we're going to use kind of the same patterns we have now, maybe change it up a little bit, but we're going to fix the parking lot up as much as we can with what we have in budget. So some of that's going to get done. It's just not going to be the full scale what we had originally designed because it's way too expensive. The underground work for drainage and things like that, because of the way code rules work, and when you start digging things up, it gets a little bit more expensive for that. So you got to be careful. So we're going to
have to do a seeker on that, right, Bob?
We certainly do. We definitely do.
What about the secured entrance for AES? Is that still in the works or no?
That's still there. We will certainly be keeping that in the project. We just won't be doing the administrative area at this point unless bids come in a little bit lower and we can fit that cost in. We'll do what we can in the administrative area. The big thing we wanted to concentrate on Appalachian was the classroom and the instructional areas that needed some serious upgrade. And that's where we're focusing. And then we're going to have to probably keep attacking that building as years go on to try to keep it upgraded with different pieces. So this is just the first step, really.
But securing the main entrance though is still got to be a high priority, right?
It is. It is. Yes. I'm sorry. I should have clarified that. You're correct. It is. Yep.
Okay.
New front doors, all of that is going to be part of it.
Is there going to be something similar to what we have at the other two schools?
Yes, but not quite it's not going to be quite the same, but similar.
Okay. As long as it's secure, that's the main
Yeah,
thing.
they have the way they have it set up even now is it's workable. We're just going to add a little bit to it to make it work. But outside of that, it's mainly the classroom areas that the majority of the money you're going to see is poured into those areas. Other questions?
Yeah, I have a question about the pickup / drop off area at AES.
Yep.
And how it overflows into the road
Yep.
there. Wondering if the state puts up more signs, like a flashing school in session sign, or how that could be, I don't know, a little less dangerous. I think everybody does a good job. The parents do a good job of trying to keep it as safe as possible. But I find I've been parked on the opposite side of the road and my turn to go. And, it's a little bit dangerous.
It's not an ideal situation. I think we're going to be talking about how to improve those procedures. I mean, one of the things we could possibly do is when you look at the design of Appalachian, we could possibly create some dividers on the far west side of Appalachian to try to make it so you can come in maybe the other way from the BOCES side and loop in that way, which is the original design. And I think we still have the ability to do that.
Gotcha.
But that means we're going to have to put some sidewalks in, and we're going to have to figure out how we're going to fit that within budget and still gain the paving cost that we can do. So we're reducing some of the paving that was done on the far side of the building to reduce the amount of blacktop, because that's what costs all the money, is when you start getting into the site work that's done to prepare for that, especially if there was not an existing parking lot to begin with.
Right.
So, because you got to have proper drainage to fit into the current drainage. And that's where you're starting to dig down and you're getting into heavy labor costs to do that. So it's working with our engineers to make that as cost effective as possible. And we have a limit with the incidental costs, and that's it. So you're 100% right. We do need to improve the procedures at Appalachian in terms of our drop-offs and try to divide the traffic. And
like I said, they make it go, the staff makes it go very, very efficient. It goes very well. I'm just wondering if there could be any signs out on the actual road with some flashing lights or whatever to let people
Yep.
know that don't normally come through there,
Yep.
really slow down.
yeah, that's something we're going to have to work with the town and figure out,
Okay.
how to go that route. You make a good point and a good suggestion. We should probably do that, especially when you come over that hill.
Right.
And you're you get past the ransom steel and all of a sudden you get up to the fire station. You're like, oh, you're in the middle of traffic. So I get what you're
Correct.
talking about. Other questions, thoughts, comments, concerns? All right, that's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Farrell.
Yep.
I believe up next, Marcy, you don't have to pull that up again, but you can just tell me who's next on the list.
Heath.
Heath.
Mr. George is next with
With that,
curriculum
Mr. George,
quarterly.
tonight, just to give you an update on where things are at from a curriculum and instruction standpoint, we continue to carry on with our PLC practices. and moving forward. And he's going to talk a little bit about that tonight, and then some other areas that we're focused on and looking to improve.
Thanks, Marcy. Can you go to slide 2, please? How's everybody tonight? Just wanted to talk to you about, as Corey was saying, that we're really trying to refocus on our practices for PLC. We had where we went out last year and the pandemic started, and really that was just about getting in instructional systems in a way that we've never used before. And then this summer, as many of you know, because you're on the committees, we redid everything yet again based on the feedback from parents and from teachers and from students. And so beginning of this year was really about making sure the start of the school year was smooth and instructionally we were in a good place. But I feel like we're past that, and we've really tried to put back in the practices that have given us success over the last few years. And that really means looking at things like common formative assessments, CFAs, our quarterly assessments, and our SMART goals, and starting to have that formalized process. Teachers were still doing it, but we needed to have that formalized process back in and having it where it was being reported and we could analyze that data. What we're doing now is we've kind of changed that, and we're using Google Forms. We used to have everybody's PLC data in their own folders, and that made it cumbersome to look at the data. When we use Google Forms, it now generates a large spreadsheet for us that we can see all the data in one place. And we just did our marking period one quarterly assessments, and I thought I'd touch on that for a second. Went through and reviewed all the data for the quarterly assessments coming back from teachers, and some of the feedback we got was, a lot of it was very positive actually. The one thing they're struggling with is engaging virtual learners. It's the same thing that we saw in Thought Exchange, and so we're trying to come up with some solutions for that. But overall, what we're seeing is teachers were they're pretty happy with what they got back. We get to see what percentages there are for passing and mastery, and they analyze that from last year's data and from the year before, and they felt that it was pretty similar. They had to modify quarterlies. A lot of them are a week or two behind because of the gap last year and the slower start this year. But in their written responses to us, they kind of outlined without us asking what their plan was to catch it up. And most of them felt that catching up that gap before the end of the year, if they modify some of their curriculum, that they're in pretty good shape with that. And so overall, the quarterlies looked pretty good, and the feedback on them from the teachers was pretty positive. So SMART goals this year, what we're doing differently is we've always used in the past the Regents exams and the state exams from the previous year and how we did on those. And we felt that we're not sure this year if we're going to have state exams. And there's always a saying about doing that process. They say that you're looking at autopsy data. And really what you're looking at is the previous year's class performance and not this year's class. So what we decided to do was focus on something that we can control in the district, not waiting for state exams. And we've changed over to using our quarterly assessments to build our SMART goals off of. So they've taken their quarterly assessments from this year, and they're again comparing it to previous years and projecting where the quarterly assessment rates of performance will be by the fourth quarter. So the good thing about changing over to this, and we really think it's the smart way to go, is that it is this year's students' data. And we can identify where their trouble spots are and have the SMART goals really address the students this year for their assessment data. Marcy, if you can go to the next one, please. So we're also going to be using the Google Forms for collecting that data. So again, we're going to see all of that in one large spreadsheet. Touching upon some of the initiatives that we're doing this year, and really we had to get innovative And you'll see this as we go through the slides, because we were out and on remote instruction, some of the innovation has been actually driven through our new instructional practices. One of the things that we started last year in the middle school was Tech Prep, and that is asynchronous learning. We have time set aside in the day for kids to work on it, but they can also work on it at home. And this year we're moving that up to the secondary level. We're in the final process of implementing that. And the cool thing is they get to do, students can pick things like drone certification. At the elementary school we have, or middle school, we have all of the kids doing digital literacy and citizenship, something that we've been trying to put in place for a long time. They're now getting it through this asynchronous learning. They can get LEED green technology certification. So it really opens up the door for us, for our kids to see a lot more content than we can provide just within our four walls. Marcy? So at the middle school this year, we have a pilot going on. And really what we tried to do, and we talked about this last year and started setting it up, is starting to make the middle school like the high school in the fact that kids get choice. And they get to really follow some of the STEAM pathways that we've put into place. And so what we've done is that we've given them 10 different options, basically electives that they get to choose from. The students put into a Google form their top 4 choices, and then they were given their electives based on availability, just like we do at the high school level. So we're really trying to make it more engaging for them and to give them the chance to start moving through those pathways that we set up at the high school level. So high school, we have the Tech Prep going on, but we also have TC3, who we've partnered with for many years very successfully. And basically what we do typically is dual credit classes, where our teachers teach college level classes and our students get college credit as well as getting credit for graduation. We offer so many that we have students every year now graduate with an associate's degree, which is amazing. But to open up our catalog to classes that they couldn't get before, like statistics, network design, meteorology, all these cool classes, we're going to also offer online classes to the students through TC3. We've met with Brett Doan over it, and Kenny's met with him a couple times. And so we have identified classes that students can take, and we've opened it up to them to sign up and be able to take them for the next semester. Another thing that we're really pushing towards and working on is our response to intervention, or our RTI process. And really, we do a nice job with it, with intervention with students at the higher level of the pyramid, where kids need more interventions. But what we want to do is really focus on in-class help for students so that we don't get kids moving up that continuum and hopefully not needing the special ed designation. So we're working on developing a system to increase these in-class help interventions, and really looking towards solution tree. We've kind of put together, over like with the check-ins and with our quarterly assessments, all of that data. It's kind of our toolbox, and it's how we assess how kids are doing. But this is taking it to the next step, and how do we really help them in the classroom using those tools that we have. AES, oh, go ahead, that's fine. So as I was saying, we're starting to use technology to our advantage. And one of the things that we have seen, and both Bob and I have visited, and we're pretty much blown away by it, is over at AES, the 4th grade teachers have started this innovative team teaching approach. And really what they're doing is each of the teachers is becoming the expert in a lesson for that day. And what they'll do is that expert will be on Zoom teaching all of the students. And that allows the other teachers to free up and to start providing more intervention within the classroom itself. They also make a video of the lesson. So what you'll get is real differentiated instruction. So one group might be listening to the video that was made. Another group may be listening to the teacher on Zoom doing the instructional lesson. And then another group may be getting help from one of the teachers in the classroom and the aides that has been freed up by this team teaching approach. So really it was just a change in dynamics in the classroom on how you can actually instruct kids. And it's something they came up with, and we think it's a great model and want to grow it out into the rest of the district. Also, elementary is implementing Lucy Calkins units of study, and that is through the Teachers College of Columbia University, the premier instructional college in the country. And so grades K through 5, we have these mini lessons that are given to us from the Teachers College, and that's allowing teachers to have that lesson playing, and again, it frees them up to be able to help kids within the classroom. So using that technology has really allowed us, hopefully, to differentiate instruction and help kids out at a higher level. That's it. Any questions at all?
Sounds impressive, Heath.
Thank you. Appreciate it, Gene. It's really team. It comes from the teachers, and it's coming from the principals, and it's coming from the admin team working together. It's really all different levels working as a team, actually.
You can tell. You can tell.
Thanks, Heath. Appreciate the update here. So as you know, we've got a couple more reports, and the next report, I believe, will be Mr. DeCosmo, Mr. Buxbaum, and this is the ongoing COVID updates that we continue to receive from the governor's office and from state ed and from the state and local health departments. So they're going to fill you in on the latest that's associated with some of the changes in testing and try to bring you up to speed a little bit of where we're at in the process.
Thank you, Mr. Green. Marcy, it's not up on the screen. At least I can't see it.
Now can you?
Yep.
Okay.
That's the first. Yeah, you can leave it right there. That's the first slide anyway. Joe and I are going to talk to you a little bit about the microzone clusters that are happening around the state, testing, kind of where we are at in Owego, Appalachian right now. Just to be very clear, OA and Tioga County are not currently designated as a microzone cluster. So I don't want to get anybody nervous right off the bat. I want to let you know we are not designated as a cluster. But we are trying to be very proactive with our planning because if for some reason either our district or the county does get designated to one of these either yellow, orange, or red zones, if you're not prepared to test or prepared to move forward with the requirements, could cause school closure. So we're getting ahead of that now so that doesn't happen. Right here is a chart of basically the restrictions by cluster zone, and it goes left to right, red, orange, yellow. Yellow would be the first distinction if we went into a cluster. And you can see from the top to the bottom all the different areas that are addressed. The bottom is schools. And basically, if we were to approach a yellow zone, and again, we are not, but if we were, we would be required to test 20% of all of our in-person students and staff on a bi-weekly basis. So that's a heavy task, but one that we're, I believe, today prepared for if we need to go that way. On November 16th, they made it official. As I just said, 20% of in-person students and staff would need to test. looking at the test itself, and Joe's going to go over the testing piece of this and kind of break that down for you. But essentially, if we were put into a yellow zone and we tested 20% of our population in person, if our positive rate averaged above the 7-day rolling average in the yellow zone, we would have to continue testing on a biweekly basis. If our rate was below the 7-day rolling average in our yellow zone, then we could stop testing and move forward as we are right now. So we would test, we would record that data, and then we would move forward accordingly. In order to be certified to test on campus with our staff, we needed to become an external LSL, which is a limited service laboratory. And in order to do that, we had to partner with a medical group. So we partnered with Guthrie, obviously, it's a natural partnership, as Dr. Pikett's our chief medical officer, and we work very closely with Guthrie. Guthrie has basically deemed us an external LSL of their medical group. As the external LSL, we're responsible for training our staff, training our medical staff, our competency in what we're doing, and all of the protocols that go along with testing. So all of that is our responsibility in the school district. As the Guthrie themselves really don't step in to assist us on campus. They basically will certify that we have done the test, that we have done the training, and that we are following the proper protocols as an external LSL. So they kind of rubber stamp our process and make sure we're on task and doing the right thing along the way with our testing. And as far as training goes, our nurses have already been trained to administer the test. It was basically a video presentation training. They took that last week. Although Guthrie does not have the support staff at the time to come on campus and assist us, our partnership with UHS already through our athletic training contract, they have staff available that have been part of staff that's tested at other school districts. So they're very experienced in the process, and they will be able to step in and assist us if we get to that point. And then also all students must have written permission from a parent or a guardian in order to be tested. And we're working through that right now as far as what that looks like and how we're going to communicate that out if we end up in a yellow zone. Joe?
So I'm going to take the slides from here. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you pretty good, Tom.
All right, good. I'm going to take the part that starts with the testing itself. So approximately 2 weeks ago, I called New York State and was inquiring about getting the kits just to be ahead of the game. And they basically told me that unless we were a zone, we couldn't order testing kits. And lo and behold, about 3 days later, I got an email that said they were going to go ahead and send them to us anyway. So we are ahead of the game with test kits. We received them through New York State Health Department. They sent them overnight air, and we do have them on location. They've contracted with Abbott Laboratories. That's the company that creates the tests. The tests are called Binax Now. And it basically uses a COVID-19 AG card, it's called. So if you go to a doctor's office and get any rapid test, where it'll be strep, RSV, I believe even malaria, it's the exact same type of test. And the next slide, I'm going to show you exactly what that looks like. It's a shallow nasal swab rapid test. So it's nothing that's intrusive. I know when we saw the way people were tested at these remote sites, they were like these deep nasal swabs that were uncomfortable. These are not. These are shallow swabs where you get a sample out of the lower nostrils. And if you look at the slide where it says conducting the test, you're going to see two pictures. The picture on the left is the actual test card that's folded open. So what you do is you take the solution that's in that little bottle, you put 5 drops of it in the top hole, you swab the nostrils, you insert the Q-tip, close the card, rotate it 3 times, and basically wait 15 minutes. And go to the next slide, Marcy. And you'll get a reading that's on the outside of the card. So if you get, it'll show you below what the control looks like. Two pink lines is going to be a positive. 1 pink line on top will be a negative. And it gives it pretty quickly. Ron Bieber and myself both took a rapid test when they first got there. And to be honest with you, it's a really simple thing and the results come back in probably 5 minutes. So, I mean, we're of the belief if we're going to do it to kids, we want to know what it looks like, and rest assured, it's pretty easy stuff. As with anything with New York State, there's going to be a lot of red tape involved, and there's a reporting system. So all COVID-19 tests conducted must be reported via the New York State Clinical Laboratory Reporting System. It's basically a database that you have to have permission to enter. And every child that's tested and adult has to be entered into the system. So the state, I believe, can get a good idea of subgroups that are positive or negative. This basically coincides with the daily reports we have to fill out for positive tests in our district anyway. So that's really what it is. It's not as scary as it looks. It's pretty easy actually. So if you have any questions, we can answer them.
Well, thanks, Joe. And Andy, that's very, very helpful.
Yeah, I just want to thank Joe and Andy. This is, obviously we aren't designated to be testing at this moment, but they've taken the lead on this to get out in front of it, to be prepared. So that if we do go down this road, we know what we're facing. We've already had things set in place. My belief is that probably at some point in time, there will be some type of testing that goes on in school districts, if not school districts across the entire state. So we want to be prepared for that, and they've done a really good job. They've done a really good job during this entire process from the beginning of planning and preparing, COVID protocols across the districts and guidelines, and working closely with the health department. It's a heavy lift, and those guys have really done a nice job. So thank you.
Welcome.
Up next, we wanted to give you an update on the latest with winter athletics. We have some things currently that are still up in the air, and Mr. Bucksbaum is going to bring us up to speed on that.
Thank you. Marcy, it was up and now it's not up.
Yeah, go on, Marcy.
Yeah.
All right. I'm going to go through these first few slides very quickly. It's really just a review and a timeline of where we were and where we are now. Our reopening plan started on September 28th when we were approved in Section 4 and the state to start our fall strength and conditioning. We've very successfully moved through 4 phases that started with strength and conditioning in the stadium, socially distanced. And we've advanced into full team workouts, obviously following all state protocols and local Department of Health protocols. But we're currently in phase 4, which is a winter specific preseason emphasis, preparing for our January 4th start date, which is still on the table. Back on September 13th, this is Southern Tier Athletic Conference's press release, basically saying that we were going to suspend fall sports and move to a condensed season model starting in January. This is a follow-up to that. A couple days later, Section 4's press release basically saying the same thing, postponing all section sports until postponing fall sports till March 1st and looking at a condensed season model as well. So I give our league and local school districts a lot of credit for being ahead of the curve with decision making. Back on November 9th, our state association said that we could start low and moderate risk winter sports, which for us included bowling, indoor track, and swimming and diving. The date that they allowed it to start was November 30th, but we had already locally postponed until January 4th. So we moved forward with that. Since this press release, Section 4 has canceled the indoor track season. Because we're just not, the local colleges that we run at are not allowing high schools to come onto their campuses and run, understandably. So out of these sports, indoor track has been canceled, and we don't have skiing and gymnastics. So we're looking at bowling and swimming as low and moderate for the winter. November 17th, the state then took a little harsher action and decided to move all high-risk winter sports to January 4th, which is something our league and section did back in September. So again, I give a lot of credit for the foresight of the localities here to do the right thing. But right now, officially for the state, high-risk winter sports are still on the table and they're approved to start January 4th. When I say high-risk winter sports, for us in Owego Appalachian, that's basketball, wrestling, and competitive cheerleading for the winter season. Here's the state guidance document, and Marcy, you don't have to click on it, but if you were to click that icon, it would take you to the document. It's about a 70-page document and goes through all different protocols that we're required to follow in a school district for athletics. I can assure you we're following them all now in our current workouts. But these 2 pages right here, if you ever decide to go on the state website and take a look at this, or I can share it with you as well. These 2 pages, pages 8, which refers to parents and spectators at events, and page 12, which is athletes wearing masks, seem to come up as the top 2 high priority conversation items in all of our meetings. So I think we're all doing a very good job with the protocols and following Department of Health guidance. But these two items keep rising to the top of conversations. And I'm going to kind of just review the language on those right now. Right now, the New York State Department of Health requires that spectators maintain 6 feet of physical distance. You can sit with someone in your household, so mom and dad could sit together, but they need to be 6 feet away from everyone else. All spectators must wear a mask, which obviously we're all used to that at this point. But if you look at the second bullet, we are responsible to limit spectators to no more than 2 spectators per player. And in addition to that, the Department of Health puts a cap at 50% of your facility's limit. So 2 spectators per athlete, and you cannot exceed your facility's limit by more than 50%. So for our high school gym, that number would be different than for our pool, for instance. And then as far as masks go, this is kind of a funny one. The athletes are required to keep a distance of 6 feet as well during competition, which is virtually impossible in most sports. And when they can't, they are required to wear a mask. So essentially, in our higher risk, higher contact sports, you can see that our athletes would be in masks most of the time. When you're looking at lower risk sports that we deal with, you would see that a little bit less. If you were to go into our pool right now, our athletes are wearing masks on the deck, in the locker room, and any other time they're there. Once they enter the pool, they take it off, they put it in a bag, 1 athlete per lane, and then they're following that protocol throughout. So, even though they don't have their mask on during competition, their workout, they still have it on while they're in the facility. The part of the bullet number 2 that's been getting a lot of attention, it says the athletes must wear masks, and then the State Department of Health then adds in unless it's not tolerable, which is something that comes up in all of our meetings as a contentious item, because what's not tolerable mean? If you look around the state in the fall, Section 5 mandated mask wearing regardless of tolerance. Around the state leagues and sections, everybody's doing a different thing. And we're currently deliberating that in our league right now. So that's kind of where we're at with the mask thing and the parent spectator thing right now, per the Department of Health. And again, when and if Governor Cuomo comes down with further guidance, he could obviously clarify or change all of that as well. Just to prepare you a little bit, I have this slide, and basically this is some different local decisions that have been made around where we are in regards to athletics. And I think it's important because I want to keep a very positive mindset. We're very hopeful that we're going to participate fully in January, but at the same time, I think we need to be prepared for the state and local Department of Health to come down and be a little bit more strict than even the state guidance that I just explained to you once it's time to compete. I was on the phone with Tioga County Department of Health today talking about just that. For our league, STAC, we've established a COVID protocol committee, and I'm part of that committee. And we're currently deliberating spectators and masks. Mr. Green was part of our meeting last week, and those two items were the two top items on the agenda. We have another meeting this Friday, and I assume we'll be talking about those again as well. The IAC, another league in Section 4, has decided as a league not to allow spectators at all at any of their winter athletic events. Section 3 will compete virtually in bowling and swimming. And this has come up in our meetings as well. The possibility of competing virtually in the sports of bowling and swimming, just because of the fact that most facilities in swimming don't have the nice facility that we have, and they don't have the capability of hosting. And then as far as bowling alley goes, there's very strict guidance there as well. And some different areas around the state are looking at going virtually for those two sports. BU is not allowing spectators. The Empire 8 is not allowing spectators, and they won't start high-risk sports till February 8th, or I'm sorry, until February. And the SUNYAC canceled their winter season. So we are cautiously optimistic, and we're very hopeful that we're going to move forward fully starting January 4th, and that's what we're working towards every day. But we do need to be prepared for anything to happen and any kind of guidance to come out of Governor Cuomo's office. Specifically for the winter season, again, we're moving forward for a January 4th start date. This past Friday, we opened up our Family ID registration link for official registration for winter sports. And we are awaiting high-risk guidance from Governor Cuomo on basketball, competitive cheer, and wrestling. Those sports are allowed to practice under strict guidelines, but they are not yet allowed to compete. So we're waiting on that. And as far as the fall and spring season, again, fall is slated for March 1st. The spring season is slated for April 19th. And again, the same guidance, we're waiting for high risk in those two seasons. Football, volleyball, and boys lacrosse are designated as high risk sports still and not allowed to compete. They are allowed to practice, and but they are not allowed to compete at the interscholastic level yet. One thing with these overlapping dates, as you may see, there's a week or two overlapping in between seasons. Just know that, and I know that a lot of people are talking about this, right now in our normal sports year, there's overlap in between seasons. So to go to this condensed model and have 1 to 2 weeks overlap, we've worked it out pretty good so that kids don't have to make a choice. Where we could run into some trouble is if state ed or Governor Cuomo's office or the Department of Health starts moving things out to other seasons, and then kids would be in conflict. And we're going to try and avoid that as much as possible. And that's pretty much where we're at. I'd be happy to answer any questions or address any concerns.
Thanks, Andy. So I understand the swimming. How would the bowling work, Andy, as far as virtually go? Our team would bowl by themselves, and then the other team would bowl at their home alley by themselves?
Yeah, so we basically stream the event. We all have the capability of streaming events. We basically stream the event. We would bowl on our lanes. We would swim in our pool. The other schools would do the same, and we would match up times in swimming. We would match up scores in bowling. Obviously that, and that has not been decided in Section 4 stack, but it's just something that's being discussed. But it's not ideal. But if it gives us an opportunity to compete, we'll do anything to give our kids an opportunity to compete in any way. So everything's on the table, just like everything else we're dealing with.
Sounds good. Andy, thanks.
Anything else?
Thanks, Andy. I appreciate the update. Obviously, there's a tremendous amount of information coming at us all the time in terms of athletics. There's some really tough decisions to make moving forward, and I think Andy touched on those. It's, as much as I think we're pro, we'd love to be able to get parents back in to watch their kids compete. There's other things to consider with contact tracing. How that's going to work if there is a positive case. Is everyone in the gym going to be shut down and quarantined? And some concern there is that we're already on condensed seasons. If we're on a shortened condensed season, and our kids or our team gets quarantined, now we're facing the potential of missing with more of that condensed season, which is unfortunate for the kids. So we are certainly pro pro students, pro student athletes, want them to be able to get out there and compete. It's just kind of a sit and wait game with the governor on what he's going to allow, and we're trying to prepare as best we can behind the scenes for being able to open up. So there's a lot to it. I sit in on these meetings with the athletic directors and a few other superintendents and Section 4 representatives, and there are a lot of different scenarios to take into account, from one group that wears masks, or some kids that can't tolerate masks, and the other team potentially won't play them and forfeit. There's been some of those scenarios that have gone on around the state in the fall. I think the mask piece in the winter with basketball being inside is an issue in terms of the intensity of that, and wearing a mask and competing inside is a little bit different, I think, than being outside and wearing a mask. So there's all sorts of different things to think about. We're hopeful that we can make it all work at the end of the day, and these kids can get back in there and compete.
Thanks, Corey. Well, I guess that completes all the presentations, Corey.
Yes, it does. We're all set for the presentations, and
how are we doing for any public comments? Anything come in?
I have not seen any come in at this point.
Okay. Well, again, if they come in later on, you'll address them as they come in. But at this point, I'd like to welcome our student board rep, Travis Rayner. I'm not sure we've met you yet, Travis. So I hope you're prepared to give us like a 20-minute presentation. Just kidding.
I
you just
put some fillers in there for about 20 minutes.
Just kidding.
That? Okay.
It's all yours, Travis. Go ahead.
Great. Thank you. One of the things that we've been discussing is the giving tree, where we'll be raising money to give some underprivileged students, some gift cards and stuff like that. And student council has decided that if we cannot raise enough money, that some of that will come out of our budget as well to cover some of those costs. One of the other things we discussed was the Spirit Week for the holiday season. We're currently going through and seeing what we want to do for those days, certain days, kind of working that out. Overall, as well, I think the student body is pretty pleased with how you guys have been handling the situation and trying to make our senior year as good as it can be. I know a lot of people that are in student council are trying to find things that we can do in place at certain events, such as doing things outside that are funded by either the parents or the students themselves. We've come up with at least 8 or 9 different things that we can do where everybody's socially distanced. It's very low risk, but we can all still enjoy everything together, which I think is a pretty important aspect of it. If there's any questions you guys would like to ask me, go ahead. But other than that, I think that's pretty much all I have.
Thank you, Travis. Does anyone have any questions for Travis?
Thank you.
Okay. Well, I know a lot of you have already presented tonight, but I'm going to go around anyway, so in case you have anything else you want to add. So with that, I guess I'll start with you, Ken Francisco. What do you have for us?
Yeah, I just wanted to, again, recognize the music department and what a great job they did at the BOCES conference last week. They definitely represented our district very well. And I also wanted to give a huge shout out, thank you to Mrs. Chandler, Mrs. Tavelli, Mrs. Crawford, and Mrs. Oliver for decorating the high school and middle school for the upcoming holiday season. We wanted to get those decorations up right after Thanksgiving, and they did a great job. That's all I have.
Thanks, Ken. Speaking of which, Emily, do you have anything you want to share with us?
Just that with marking period ending, we had our teachers select their student of the quarter, and their certificates are going to be mailed home tomorrow. So we're excited to recognize some of our students.
Great, thanks, Emily. How about you, Diane? Anything?
Yes, we have school pictures coming up the week of December 14th through the 18th. We slotted a time for our virtual students to come in as well. We'll have those in the OFA lobby. Spirit Week, like Travis mentioned, is coming up. The kids have chosen some really cool themes for each of those days. So we'll be messaging that out pretty soon as well. And Student Council also came up with offering hot chocolate during lunch the last 2 days for 6th through 12th grade.
Wow.
Right before the holidays. So I think the kids will really like that as well. That's all yeah.
Thanks, Diane.
You're welcome.
Again, welcome back, Phil. How's things going at Owego Elementary?
Thank you. I appreciate it. It feels good to be back. It was nice to get back to school today, see the kids again, teachers. Echoing what Ken said and what we already heard, the BOCES statewide conference. From my building, obviously, I want to congratulate Alex Staples and Becky Murgis, did a great job in the music department. I wanted to give a shout out to our cafeteria staff at OES, along with our aides. When we dealt with going fully remote, the amount of meals that they pumped out of that cafeteria was incredible. And the aides jumped right in and pitched in and helped from that standpoint, really getting food to our students. And we even had some aides help out with transportation and go out and deliver food while we were all remote. So I wanted to thank them again in my building from that standpoint. And we just finished day 2 of pictures because we had to postpone them. So we had more students get pictures today as well. So everything's going good and good to be back.
Thanks, Phil.
Thank you.
Mr. Beatty.
Hi, Gene. Awful exciting day today. Everybody was very excited. We had 2 staff members. Amy Mason gave birth to a little baby girl this weekend.
Nice.
And Megan Lynch gave birth to a little baby boy. So there's a lot of celebrating over there at AES, and really happy that everybody's healthy and doing well. I also would like to take a minute to remind everybody in the Appalachian community that there is no left-hand turn as you exit the drop-off or pickup, and that is creating a significant problem for us, where people are not following the signs and making left-hand turns and creating unsafe situations. So I would encourage anybody out there to talk to your neighbors, and if you see them, tell them stop. Thanks.
Thanks, Tom. Okay, Jill, anything going on there? She's still with us, Miss Benedum? Okay. How about Ron, Mr. Bieber?
Yes, Mr. Civic, how are you?
Good.
So I have just a couple things to report on. I would like to report that our maintenance guys got all the plexiglass barriers completed and installed in Mr. Green's time frame. And they're all currently installed where they need to be, and they look very professional. The other thing that we have is we just got our plow truck that we manufactured back. We were able to purchase a new V plow for it, which will make it a much more efficient plow than the rest of the equipment that we have. And it's just really sharp. And one thing I'd like to comment on, and I was really proud of our grounds guys. The grounds guys did all the fabrication to that truck. And the owner of the company that installed the plow for us called my office and wanted to know who built the truck for us. And when I told them that it was our groundskeepers, they were really impressed with that. So Mr. DeCosmo has a presentation that he's put together, and we just need one more piece to it. And then we're going to present it to you all at the next board meeting.
Sounds like a possible revenue source, Ron.
Yeah, wait till you see it. I mean, you know, you've heard of the show Monster Garage. Well, the maintenance department is their own garage.
There you go. I'm
And,
sure the other districts could use a similar plow.
Yeah, well, this plow allows us to push a lot more snow.
Sounds like it.
It'll be a lot more efficient, and with the earlier start time to elementary, it's going to really be a big benefit to us this winter. Although we haven't had any snow yet, but it's coming.
Yes, it is.
All right.
Unfortunately, well, that'll make Danny happy.
Yeah.
Right, Danny? Mr. Caranta. Tony still here?
There we are. Yep. Nope. Thank you, everyone. Nice to see everybody. I just wanted to report that a couple of our bus drivers also decorated our building for Christmas, particular the vestibule. They've taken time out from all the food they've been delivering to help decorate, and they decided this year that they're going to collect Toys for Tots. So we got a Toys for Tots box in our vestibule, and we're collecting toys till December 18th. They've been doing a really great job. They've been, all coming to work, working hard, delivering a lot of food. And although we are in the midst of a driver shortage once again, everybody that can be has been stepping up and doing everything they can to get the kids to and from school and to deliver a lot of food. I think this past Wednesday, the number was around 480 meals went out just between 9:30 and 12:30. And that's with all the drivers participating. So they're really working hard to get the job done, no matter what it entails.
Thanks, Tony. Andy, I know you already gave us a couple of presentations. Do you have anything else you want to let us in on?
No, you're tired. You're tired of listening to me, Mr. Civic. Thank you.
Never get tired of you, Andy. How about you, Heath? Anything?
I will just go with what Andy said right there.
All right. And Mr. DeCosmo?
I just have one thing. I just want to give a shout out to the cafeteria staff. When we talk, Phil thanks the staff for how much work they're doing. I want to put a number on it. Since March 12th, we have prepared and delivered almost 200,000 meals, and that's a real number. So everyone who has a part in that, it's a huge task, and sometimes it's thankless, but it's so appreciated. So just want to give a shout out to those people.
Well, honestly, Joe, I think it's appreciated by a lot of people, and the board especially is very, I know I speak for all of them when I say we're very proud of not only them, but every employee in the district. And I listen to all of the things that everyone is having to do in this new COVID world, and how well you've adapted and how quickly in every area of the district. So all I can say is to all of you, from Corey on down, thanks to all of you for everything you've done. We're very proud of what you've done, and I don't know how you do it, but just keep doing what you're doing. Thanks so much.
Agreed.
So with that, Corey, I guess we're done.
Yeah, we're all set. I think our next meeting is January 11th. I just want to let the board know that I'm still working on our date for our training and session. We'll probably look at January sometime after we get back from break and see if we can't get back to fitting that in. So,
okay. Well, happy holidays to everyone. And with that, I'll ask for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Jason, Danny,
Yep.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Good night, everyone.
Everybody.
Good night. Thank you, guys.